everybody, Gilligan Kruger 0829 here, and welcome to day 3 of my X-Men movie series review. Today we are talking about the 2006 second follow-up to the original movie, X-Men The Last Stand, featuring most, if not all, of the returning cast members and actors from the last one. However, just like X2, we did have a few new additions, and fanboys, moviegoers, and critics alike are all wondering the same question: how do they benefit? What do they do? Why are they in here? Well, let's go into the movie and answer that question for ourselves. So, this movie actually starts 20 years before our present-day event, and we see a younger, not crippled, version of Professor Xavier, accompanied by a, whoa, can we believe this? Friendly Eric Lyncher, as they're going to talk to Jean Grey for the first time, asking her if she wants to come to the school, telling her about her gifts. We then cut 10 years later, where we see a young boy named Warren Worthington III, who will grow up into Ben Foster, but that's beside the point, who has been seen trying to cut off his wings in an attempt to fit in. These two scenes, they're not really drawn out all that much, but they'll be important to later in the story, trust me. Now, one thing this movie has in common with its predecessors is the fact that it does not like to stand still. And now we're cut to 10 years later in the present day. Now we have our heroes working together in an action simulator. We've got Logan, Storm, Rogue, Bobby, and we also have two newcomers that were just kind of touched on in the last few films, but these are fan favorites, so we kind of saw it coming. We got Colossus, played by Daniel Cudmore, and Kitty Pryde, played by Ellen Page. Now, they're kind of getting their asses kicked in the simulator until Logan uses a move to win it. However, this doesn't really impress Storm, and they all storm off in a fit of rage. But it's not long after this before they're visited by a guest. We now are introduced to Hank McCoy, a blue beast-like character played by Kelsey Grammer, nonetheless. He's involved in politics, and he has come to give them the news that he has heard only hours before that. Now, see, a group of scientists have actually found a way to use a mutant to suppress the gene and actually create an antidote that they're calling a cure. Now, this enrages a lot of people, but especially Magneto, who's been watching TV and has kind of been on the run for the last few years, who decides to hatch an evil plan to raise up a group of mutants, including two other fan favorites, Multiple Man and Juggernaut, to storm the facilities that produce the cure, and thus end this altogether. Now, this isn't the only thing that's happening, though, because now we find out, on a routine trip to Alkali Lake, that Jean Grey did in fact survive her water burial that happened at the end of the second movie. But there's a problem, and Xavier knows it. So we all know that Jean is much more dangerous than she looks, and she breaks out of their control, and they have to try to get her back. And what follows is an action-packed romp, giving us only a few seconds to breathe in between scenes. Now, a lot of people have gone on to say that the X-Men movies started to go downhill from this one on, and it's not hard to understand why anyone would say that. This one decided to trade its political and mysterious tones with a typical action superhero movie. And while this does occasionally bring us the film's problems, it also kind of provides the strengths. There are some really cool action scenes in here. Some of the best I've seen in a superhero movie. Not the best, obviously, but they are very entertaining. I think Brett Ratner, who did the Rush Hour trilogy before this, but calm down, Chris Tucker isn't any of the mutants here. God, I'd hate to imagine that.
Do you understand the claws that are coming out of my hands? This is the United States of James Howlett now. I'm the president, I'm the emperor, I'm the king. I'm Michael Jackson, you Tito.
But I think he handles them pretty well, and I think he does what he can with the characters too. Like, most of the cast have returned. I've said that already, and they do their best here. I still like Hugh Jackman, I like Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, I like the supporting cast. And I actually like it that this movie views Magneto as more of a terrorist than a supervillain through the actions he kind of portrays. Now, the political tones are in here, only now it's kind of different. This one really revolves around whether or not this whole cure is a good thing or a bad thing. Now, since a lot of you are probably going to leave comments in the section about what you think, I'll state my own opinion as well. And that is, I like the concept of this. I think there are some mutants who will want to take this. Not a lot, but some, because they want to fit in with humanity again. I just don't like it that it's called a cure, because it acts as if the mutant syndrome is basically a bad thing only, that it doesn't really do anything. Those are my views, however, and I think it does question this quite well in here, but we're still bogged down by the action scenes, which are the highlight of this movie. What can I say? It's a balanced movie. I thought it was pretty entertaining. However, of course, as I've already stated, this film has its problems, and that is in the action sequences really kind of bog down the characters as a whole. We see a lot of superhero cliches, which aren't necessarily bad, but they do stand out. And they kind of take up the screen time. I also have to comment that the writers decided to really take some risks with this story. And I have to appreciate that they had the balls to do that. Do I like the results, however? Not so much. It really leads us, again, to too much of a feeling of a superhero movie. In fact, the only human element I really see in this is actually a subplot between Rogue, Bobby, and Kitty. See, it works out like this. Bobby starts to show affection for Kitty, the new student on the block. And Rogue believes it's because Bobby can touch her and not get hurt and potentially die. So Rogue decides to go get the cure herself, if you want to call it that. And this actually leads to one of the most heartfelt conversations in the movie. There's a line where Rogue actually says, "Shouldn't you be trying to stop me?" And Logan says, "I'm not your father, I'm your friend." And I just really thought that was a good line for this movie. In fact, I think what's ironic about this is Iceman is kind of developed a lot more in this one. Like, I'm not complaining about this, or his character, or the actor for that matter. I like Shawn Ashmore. I think he's good in this role. And Iceman is my favorite superhero, so as you can probably guess, I was really hyped up to hear that he was going to have a more important role in the movie. But what's curious, I think, is that Rogue is underplayed, as opposed to how she was in the first two movies. She was quite an important character, but I won't be too mean to the story, because the story given, I think that actually helps with her character, that she isn't as predominant. It's just me. But the one thing I wanted to talk about these X-Men movies does actually affiliate with Kitty Pryde or Shadowcat. They don't really call her that in the movie, but this is one thing that's always bothered me in these movies, and that's that this character is played by a different actress in all three movies. Why? I mean, I don't get it. Like, what was wrong with the other two actresses? Granted, they were only on screen for a minute, but at most, but I don't see any problems with them. Now, before you start planning your angry comments at me, let me say, I think Ellen Page is great in this role. I think she as a whole is a young and promising actress. And I like her even more in this role after seeing Juno, and especially after her role in Inception. Overall, I really feel I was just a little bit rude to her. And Ellen, I think you're great in this role, and I really wouldn't cast anyone else after seeing you. It's just that was a pet peeve of mine, that why do they have to pick someone new? I mean, it just didn't make sense to me. Overall, my final verdict of this movie is, as I said before, it's a balanced movie. There were some aspects of it I liked, others I didn't. A lot of people do not like this movie, and I can understand why. I see some of the faults they pick out, but I thought it was entertaining, and I thought it was enjoyable. It was kind of... They did try to do something different, and I kind of respect them for that. I think it is the weakest of the original trilogy. I don't think it's as good as the first X-Men, and certainly not as good as X2, but it's definitely better than what I've got in store for you tomorrow, which I'm sure a lot of you have the exact same viewpoints as me on. So yeah, entertaining, enjoyable, fun. I can recommend it. I'm going to give X-Men The Last Stand 3 stars out of 5. You can find all my movie reviews on my YouTube channel. If you have a movie you'd like me to review, comment on this video or on my channel as a whole. Until next time, peace. Yeah.